So the second game I'd like to show you is based on case studies. It's the way we use the card deck most often, and it's a chance to teach people how to think out of the box and create innovative, integrated capital solutions to individual enterprise challenges. We often start with a beginner case. So the cases that we've designed are varying levels of complexity and sophistication. The beginner cases are good for anyone, even those who have no financial experience. So I'll use the example of the baker, which is one that we like to start with. And when you do a case, you're not going to have time really to explore all of the suits, especially if you're doing it live with people. So we like to suggest that you choose a couple questions for people to explore instead of all of them. So for the baker, I'm going to choose some different suits than the ones I used in the first round. We already know what type of an entity it is because that's given by the case, so I'm not going to use that one. We are going to work with local stakeholders, and we're going to use the type of capital again. And this time we'll add impact covenants. And so again, I'll invite my players to take out those 3 suits and put the others aside. And then I will walk them through a case. So again, if it's a more intermediate or advanced case, you should have circulated it in advance and given people a chance to read the information. The beginner cases have pretty simple financials. In the case of the baker, you'll be able to see that this is just project finance. It's not the whole organization. And it's an inquiry about whether she can get capital to fulfill an order of mini pies. So she's only ever made 4,000 mini pies. She just got an order for 50,000 nut-free mini pies and needs capital in order to buy the inventory, make the pies, and then get paid after the fact. So that's essentially the challenge of the case. As a facilitator, we like to walk through the case a little bit with people and then identify the questions that we want them to explore. So in this case, we're going to ask them to explore which local stakeholders are most critical for her to be involved with. And it might be, somebody might say, she needs everybody. You know, she's going to need to have professional service providers and community organizations and business support organizations and so forth. The invitation will be to choose like which 2 or 3 local stakeholders are going to be most critical for her to get the knowledge and social and political capital she needs to be successful. In this case, it's going to be a lot of knowledge capital. Then the second question we'll ask is, what type of capital should she get? How should she get this project, this opportunity financed? And we would invite people to pick 1, maybe 2 forms of capital, and then make it optional. The third round, if the group has time, would be a question of, would you use any impact covenants on this? So we like to invite people to form groups of 4 to 5 people. It can be done live in person at a table, or it can be done on Zoom in breakout rooms, giving them about 30 minutes to work through either the 2 or, again, the third question if they have time, and just try to crack this case. Like, what would work? What are your ideas? What's possible? They come back and you hear back from the groups. What did you come up with? You look for the patterns. You see what innovative ideas people had. And then as a facilitator, we will share back what actually happened. What are the strengths of what was done? So these are real cases that Boston Impact Initiative invested in. So we know like what turned out well, what didn't turn out well, what we would have done differently, and what ideas the group has come up with, what the strengths and weaknesses of those ideas are. The advantage of this approach, again, is for people who feel like, I don't know what type of capital, I'm sitting with somebody who's been a bank lender for years, is to say, look, it's a game. Pick a card, play your card with conviction and with just absolute certainty that it might or might not be right, but you play it anyway. So that's the idea, is to take the fear out of finance and allow people to play around and get familiar with concepts and ideas and approaches. So that's the bulk of the case studies. There are other forms of games, variations on a theme like role play. So we'll pass out cards from the funding source suit and give people a chance to play the role of a CDFI or an angel investor and decide if you want to invest. We also know that the deck is relatively young and people can invent other ways to play. Would love to hear about that. But the best way to engage with it is to just start messing around in conversation with other people. And it's also a way to get really creative about solving chronic underinvested challenges to come up with ways of meeting those challenges. So more capital of all kinds, again, financial, social knowledge, and political capital can flow through our communities.